Baseball is back and it is crazier than ever. How crazy might you ask? Josh let me do the intro. That's how you know things are crazy. On this episode of Seventh Inning Stretch, I'm joined with Josh. We're gonna break down the weekend that was in Major League Baseball, all the news that came out, all the game action, the injuries, performances of note, the impact on the team, kind of to give our little takeaways of the action we just saw. Once again, I'm joined with Josh. I don't know if he gave me the intro because of how crazy it was, or he's just embarrassed of how poor the Mets just played. We just finished watching that game as we're recording this. I'm pretty sure that's why he gave me the mic also.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but yeah, that's good. And I don't know what was more upsetting to me today. Was my college GPA more upsetting, or is this Mets losing by 15 runs today more upsetting?
I think probably the Mets. I mean, you took pride in how you were in school. That you gave it your best. You
At
weren't the best
times.
student, but you put in the work and just knew I'm gonna do what I do, and I'm not gonna be the best student, but I'm gonna finish up. But you had some expectations for the Mets. Maybe not great expectations, but you had expectations for your GPA. But they
Oh,
they met what you expected. And right now the
yeah.
Mets, even though you didn't have high expectations for them, I don't think the 15-1 loss is the expectations you had.
I would put them if we're going on a fishing trip on the worst of them. It's my college GPA, the Mets 15-1 loss today, and then the Jets losing 45-3.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to look at it. But there's a lot to get
Oh,
to.
there's a ton. I'm so excited
Yeah.
because there's a lot, as you mentioned, there with since we last recorded, we had the bet situation, we got all types of stuff. I'm not trying to take your spot away, Callan, so I'll let you go.
No, I think before we even get to the games, we should get into some of the news that came since before even the game started. At first, you alluded to it, so let's just go right there. Mookie Betts signs the largest contract in Major League Baseball history, $365 million for 12 years to stay a Los Angeles Dodger, and including this year, he will be a Dodger for the next 13 years of his career. What was your reaction when you saw that? What do you think of the deal? We'll just get our thoughts on the record here.
I I liked him to start out the year as an MVP candidate because I like the fact that he was hungry to get a huge payday. And yes, you could say, well, what happens if he gets COVID? I still think he would become the highest paid player in the league. However, for the sports fan of me, good for him. However, the other side of me, the sports betting side of me, thinking about it, right? He's got nothing to play for right now. The fact that he got his contract extension, he knows that he's got this security and that why am I going to go all out? It's like the old quote how you don't hire a salesman who doesn't have a family to feed. That's what it's about. He's got nothing. He could hit 100 this year for all intents and purposes. It's not going to make a damn difference. That's why I don't like it.
Yeah, I think I knew the Dodgers were going to be in on him. I knew that they were going to possibly get him this off season. I knew they were going to have some of the most money to pay. Boston would probably be on too. I'm not shocked that he's still a Dodger. I'm shocked at the timing. I would have thought that in the situation we're in now, in a 60 game sprint, in a situation where we're dealing with a pandemic, are you willing to give out this big money before the season even starts and you know what you're getting yourselves into? Good for Mookie Betts. You knew he was going to get elite money. I'm a bit shocked that it topped Mike Trout's contract, but you know what? If someone was going to top him, then Mookie Betts was at or near the top of the list of players who
It's true.
have that
That's
elite
what I
upside.
said.
So, and the Dodgers have a pretty penny to spend. So,
Oh, absolutely. And but the question's going to be with now Cody Bellinger, what's going to happen there? He and Christian Yelich are the two guys I think would be worthy as well of receiving that type of financial compensation.
yeah, I think those are two good points. Bellinger should be a free agent after, I believe, 2022 or 2023. How does this affect his possible staying in LA? Corey Seager is also approaching a payday. He hasn't stayed healthy, but he was also
Yeah.
a exciting player. And Walker Bueller as well. Those are just young
Yeah.
players to keep your eye on. Does this affect their ability to stay in LA? But we're not going to call that right now. That's years in the future, and hopefully we're still doing the show by then, but who knows. But another storyline that came in before the season even started, literally hours before the season started, Major League Baseball is extending its playoffs. Instead of the usual 5 teams in each league, there's 8 teams. I'm just going to go straight 1 through 8 seeding. The top 2 teams in each division will make it, and then the 2 best records after those 6 teams. So Your thoughts on that deal?
Um, we're in a weird year, and I admit that I'm going to be rational here. As much as ex girlfriends and whatever want to say I'm irrational, I'm going to be rational here. I get it. We are in a time that if you're going to, you want to spice up the game, you want to make it interesting, you want to make it fun for everybody, knowing what's on the line here. So I like it in a weird way. I don't like it. First I didn't like it because every single team in the world is going to make the playoffs unless you stink like the Mets did today. Like every team, think about it, the top two teams, and then the next two. Like so, everyone's gonna make it. There's gonna be bad teams that sneak in, and then there's gonna just be random. I think it's gonna just be wild, but I also don't like it though. One thing I don't like about it is that it's only a 3-game series. That, like, say the Yankees, who could probably, in all intents and purposes, will be the number one seed in the AL side, they're gonna have a 3-game series against whomever, and that what's gonna happen? Anything can happen in a 3-game series.
Yeah, that's the one part that I'm a little hesitant on. I like that they gave the top seed home field advantage in all 3 games. They're not going to be traveling back and forth. For this sort of season, I'm fine with giving it a shot and seeing how it looks. I don't like the idea of a team that's going to be like an 8 or 7 seed that maybe is a game or two over 500 squeaking into the playoffs. But again, in this season, let's give it a shot, see what it is, try out a whole bunch of new things. We have another one that's going to get into probably during the series recaps of another rule that's being tried out that has had some impact on the game, but we'll see. I'm hesitant on it, but it's a wait and see approach, and this season's the best time to try it out. And finally, before we get into the injuries, there's one other report. The Toronto Blue Jays have found themselves a home. There's talks about being in
Do the white
Pittsburgh.
smoke, right?
Yeah,
We're at
it's
the white smoke now, like in Rome.
it's officially the Buffalo Blue Jays for this season. The first couple series that they're supposed to be at home, they will be playing at the road team stadium to get Buffalo equipped and ready to handle the rest of the season. So this coming week, we're supposed to be playing home against the Nationals. Instead, the series will be in Washington, but Toronto will be designated the home team. Just another note, I'm not sure we really have too much to say about that, but just something to watch for as we'll
That's so
see
funny.
a minor league ballpark.
That's
Yeah,
so funny. I can't wait. Hey, it's a great thing for the game of minor league baseball though. It does bring some thrill to the game. And like a lot of people I was talking about before we didn't know if baseball was going to come back was why don't you almost do like an exhibition at some of the prettiest parks in all of minor league baseball, like in Reading. There's a couple throughout the Field of Dreams, et cetera, et cetera. That would be a fantastic place to watch a game, and it could be great exposure. Um, but I think it's going to be great for the people of Buffalo. If you're an average fan, right, and you had never been to Buffalo, you're now going to want to go to Buffalo and be. This is where blank played. This is the first park that's really going to be able to do something like this in a long time. The last time I remember a random thing like this was when they used Williamsport when the Mets played the Phillies way back like 2 or 3 years ago, and they used the Little League World Series stadium.
yeah, I think that's a good point. I hadn't even thought about it until now that people at Buffalo they haven't seen Major League Baseball. I mean, they have the minor league stadium, which is great, but you haven't gotten a chance to watch a Major League game, and you don't have the baseball to watch right now. So you probably root for the Blue Jays anyway because they're their AAA affiliate. But now that you have them playing in your city, that gives you another reason to watch and something that could draw some more fans that would only be interested in the minor league aspects of this game, and maybe you'll be able to tune into more Blue Jays games. So it'll be exciting to see how a minor league stadium plays, but happy that they have a home, that they don't have to keep traveling from road city to road city to road city, but they have a place to play their home games for at least most of the season. So we're going to get into now. There's one other story that you enjoy of Matt Harvey signing with the Kansas City Royals. Whatever, it's Kansas City. He
They
might
still
crack the
done it.
rotation. He's
Yeah.
going to go to their alternate facility and work out and try and work his way back up to make the Kansas City rotation. I'm sure once he's up there, we'll have a big dark night. It'll be a dark night again, and who knows? He's pretty much done. So there's not too
Hey,
much
I'm,
to.
I'm rooting for the little redemption tour in a sense. I don't know if it's because I watched Bull Durham the other day, but I'm thinking, like, if it's going to happen, Matt Harvey, if there's any time, if you're going to have a fall from grace, and look at what Tiger Woods was able to do. Tiger Woods was able to come from being a forgotten former great golfer to having his fall from grace to now being number one in the world again. I think if it's going to happen, Matt Harvey's got to wake up, smell the rose, and say, I need to have a little chip on my shoulder. I'm not what I once was, but I have a lot of people to prove wrong.
Yeah, and he's doing it in Kansas City, so there's not much of a spotlight on him. There's people thinking he couldn't handle the spotlight of New York. Was at it? Who knows? But
You know what I'm blaming, Callan?
what do you blame?
The New York Rangers, because he was so self-absorbed and wanted to go to the New York Ranger games with his lady friend, and he made the Rangers losing and all the bad juju of Madison Square Garden come to Citi Field and the Mets. I'm blaming you guys for that.
You know what? Who knows? I don't even know how to respond to that. But hopefully, it's not the Rangers' fault. But now moving on, the games have started, season has started, and there have been some injuries. We had a serious injury go down just today. It was announced before Justin Verlander. At first, there was talks that it was going to be a season ender. He's come out and said that it's a forearm strain. He's going to miss a couple weeks, and then hopefully we'll see where he goes from there. Obviously, that's a huge loss for the Houston Astros to lose their ace, but just, Josh, how huge is this loss for the Astros?
Oh, it's astronomical for their chances. Because here's the thing. They knew that when they lost Garrett Cole, that Verlander was going to have to step up, which that's what his role was going to be. They did bring in Zach Greinke, who's I think well past his prime, but we can debate that another time. But the thing and the fact of the matter is going to be it's who's going to step up. Are we going to see a guy like Forrest Whitley step up? We're gonna have to see some more young guys on the Astros figure out. They're going to have to get an increased role. And they're gonna have to figure out what's gonna happen. I think if right now the Oakland Athletics are a team that looks like they're probably gonna be benefiting a lot from it. And yes, they are a team that was been in the World Series the last like 3 years. But I think that they're gonna if he's as good as people say, he could probably fill and kind of take away some of that void. What are your thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I think we'll see if it's Forrest Whitley. We know how teams handle prospects. And are they going to hold him down to get the extra service time? What's going to happen? I don't know. But the big key for me is going to be Lance McCullers. He's coming off Tommy John surgery. Was slated in to be their 3 starter. Now has to be the Lance McCullers of old that got them to the World Series in 2017. And, he was a huge part. He has a great curveball. And then other young pitchers such as Jose Urquidy and Josh James, who were slotted in the rotation in the back end, now all of a sudden are much more important. And, we were concerned about the back end rotation before the season starts, and now that back end has to become even bigger for the Astros. So, hopefully for baseball, hopefully Verlander's okay. You want to see him on the mound. You don't want to see one of the greats of our era go down like this. What kind of long-term effect could it have if he is a season ender? Because he is approaching the end of his career. We don't know. Hopefully we see him on the mound.
I would not be surprised, and I'm going to say this now, I'm going to be confident saying it. I think the Astros will be in starting pitching. They've proven it before. They've proven it constantly that they're willing to go give up some prospects. They're going to give what it takes in order to take to the next level. They know that if you brought up a great point with the service time. If they don't want to go into that service time argument, right, they could easily try to make a trade for like a long reliever for a team or somebody that can fill up some innings in order to fill that void.
Yeah, it's a really good point. One name I saw floated around, just a speculation, just someone saying make this move, was Matthew Boyd of the Detroit Tigers. He's been out there. If the Astros, someone said, since the Astros don't like playing Kyle Tucker, apparently, why don't they flip him and get Matthew Boyd, something that can help them right now? They brought in Dusty Baker. It's probably only his 1 year. So they're in a win-now mode, so it would not shock me to see them be one of the few teams who explore the trade market, but who knows if they're willing to part with it.
I think they could get more in return with the Tigers for him, at least in my opinion.
Oh, they probably could. I think it's a good starting point.
Right now, even though Tucker would be a great help for them today, I don't think that 4, 5, 6 years down the road, that's really going to – like the Tigers aren't really looking for today.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just, again, a speculative name. It's a good point. It's just one name to keep in mind. But moving on, there's some more injuries. This is a week of injuries. Starting on opening day, we saw 2 guys go down. First one was Juan Soto. Right before, a couple hours before opening day, it was revealed that he tested positive for COVID. He missed the entire series against the New York Yankees. Since that day, he has received his first negative test, so he's really only one negative test away from returning and being back in the lineup for the Nationals. We saw what the lineup looked like without Juan Soto. And in 2 out of 3 games, it looked a bit rusty. So hopefully he gets back soon. Josh, do you really have anything else to
Yeah,
add
they
on
showed
this?
a
Or
little bit of a World Series hangover in a sense. Scherzer looked good, but he gave up a couple of long balls. But he had 11 strikeouts. He looked fantastic there. But the thing is, when you lose Anthony Rendon, right after, which was inevitable, we knew that was going to happen. They didn't have the money to really make that happen. Knowing that they have Scherzer, knowing that they have Strasburg, knowing that they're gonna have to pay Soto, it wasn't worth it, right? So the thing is, they got Carter Kieboom, who they're kind of hesitant to use. But the thing is, they didn't really, when you don't really bring in much to replace a guy like Rendon, and you lose Soto, and you know that Soto's supposed to be your guy. That's it was kind of inevitable, but it's definitely a crazy thing to see how vulnerable that offense could be.
yeah, you said yourself that Carter Kieboom was supposed to be his big prospect, and they only played him 1 game this weekend. So they show they're not ready to play him every day. And Victor Robles was sitting down at the bottom of the order. So the middle of the order without Juan Soto was Starlin Castro hitting third, Eric Thames, and Howie Kendrick. Not much scary for a reigning World Series champion. And at least, as we mentioned before, Soto will be back soon. It sounds like he's just one negative test, away from returning to the team, and he should be good to go. He was ready for opening day. He'll probably maybe go down the alternate camp for a day or two just to get his swing back, and then he'll be good. So I'm expecting by probably the time we record the next podcast, he will either be very close to returning or already back in a national uniform.
Yeah, I hope so.
Another team that lost a player on opening day, Clayton Kershaw, a couple hours before opening day as well, scratched from his start with a sore back. The back issues are a big thing when it comes to pitchers. He's dealt with many injuries in the past. It sounds like he's working his way back, and he may be fine too. But how big of a worry do you think this is for Dodgers if Kershaw is having to battle this throughout the entire season?
Shockingly, I don't think it's as much of a subtraction compared to Juan Soto. And I get they're different situations, but just like I think Verlander means more to that squad with the Astros than I do think for that Kershaw. Because yes, Kershaw's a great pitcher. I'm not taking anything away from him, but there's just so many guys. Dustin May behind him. They've got all these different guys that can go behind, throw quality innings, and can pitch. And they're young, and they're talented. Walker Buehler. They got more guys that can just fill in, and they've just got so much depth. Where with the Astros, they don't have that.
I think I agree with you on that. You saw Dustin May fill on opening day and fill in really well. He went 4 and a third, struck out 7, only gave up 1 run. You see why he's so highly thought of in that rotation, and they have that depth to put up with it now. But if they lose Kershaw for an extended period of time, it seems like he's going to be okay. He's been throwing bullpen sessions and starting to feel less pain. They're thinking by next week he could return, or maybe very early next week, whatever it is. He could be back, and it may not be that big of an injury. At least now that they're going to win the division. It's pretty straightforward that they're the favorite in that division. They can afford to take a few days and make sure Kershaw's 100% for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And finally, one other guy scratched from his start going back to the Nationals. Steven Strasburg was scratched before his start on Saturday with a nerve issue on his hand. I'm not a doctor, but if your hand is bothering you when you pitch and you can't feel the ball that well, I'm pretty sure you shouldn't start, and that is an issue.
Yeah.
He seems okay with something that was bothering him in summer camp, but he might only miss 1 start. Hopefully it's nothing long term. Do you have anything to add with that, or is it just pretty much the same thing?
The same thing, yeah, as a pitcher. And it's just going to be limiting all these guys' action until it matters. I think they're eventually going to take the training wheels off these guys in the next coming weeks. But yeah, I hope the best for Strasburg. He's great for the game of baseball. He's got great stuff. And it was unfortunate that in a key series against the Yankees, he was unavailable.
Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing him go up against James Paxton. It was an exciting pitching matchup. Unfortunately for the Yankees, we might have been better off facing Steven Strasburg because they could not hit Eric Fetty in that bullpen for some reason Saturday night. But hopefully for the best. He seems like another guy who's working his way back and should miss only a start, maybe 2, but just something to keep your eye on. Continuing through the injuries, of course, it's been a rough couple days in baseball. One other thing, Mike Moustakas for the Cincinnati Reds was scratched from the lineup today and was just placed on the IL with COVID-19. What kind of loss for the Cincinnati Reds do you think losing Moustakas?
Especially with that addition that they brought in, showing that we're going to be a serious team. We're going to give our guy Bell some serious something to work with as a manager. That it's a huge loss for them. He really brought stability to that lineup. He was supposed to be one of the big bats, probably batting third or so in that lineup. And now there's a big void that's left by it, and hopefully he comes back soon.
And another thing to add to that too, Nick Senzel is a high thought of prospect
Yeah.
who probably could have filled in there. He was scratched as well. Coincidence? Did he get it from another Reds player who tested positive recently? Maybe. We have to wait and see. He wasn't placed on the IL yet, but maybe by the time you're listening to this, he has. So,
Yeah.
like you
I'm
said, it's a
curious to
huge.
know, Kellen, my opinion is I'm very curious to see if this starts to become a trend. Like, and we're gonna get into a couple of the other ones in a second. Are we gonna get to a point where, just like in the KBO, that they have to wear masks in the dugout and they're distancing themselves, and you'll even see it, the guys in the field wearing them. Are we gonna get to a point if things start ramping up as bad as they can, that we would see them potentially wearing masks in the dugouts and in the field?
We might. I think it's a really good question. We're starting to see how serious this is in the game. I mean, the Marlins themselves, another team, they just had 4 or 5 players who have gone down. Their starting pitcher was supposed to be Sunday. He was scratched right before the start, testing positive. 2 players who started on opening day out. You mentioned this when we were talking before the show. One of their top stars, Jose Arena, is
Yeah.
out for opening day right fielder, for opening day catcher, and one of their positions I can't think of. I think it was the DH, all out with COVID-19. So it's something to keep an eye on. I think you bring up a good point that maybe it has to be mandated that you keep a mask on in the field. Because one teammate gets it, it puts the whole team in trouble, and
Exactly.
we're
100%.
seeing the ripple effect right now, and it's something to worry about for
Oh,
sure.
and especially, yeah, yes, they're going to try to throw the ball out of play, right? And this is just me thinking aloud right now. Now, let's say you fly out to center field, right? Center fielder touches the ball, right? Throws it in. Let's say he has it though, and he throws it into the infield to like second or whatever, and that second baseman touches it and touches his face or nose or whatnot. Then he'll if all these events happen, he'll get it. So it's going to be like, how does the league limit the amount of touching either their face, or they're trying to make sure that these guys are taking the proper risks, even though you'll see that they have hand sanitizer. We saw the thing with Anthony Rizzo saying he would give hand sanitizer to the guy, which
I
is
love
great.
that.
It was great. Now it's just going to be about how what type of education are they going to give to these players to get them to understand that, hey, if you get this, if one person in this room has it, then we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we saw that teams were speaking out against that and really saying that they're all on the same page, and we're kind of going to see. I mean, it's unfortunate this is a situation, but the team that keeps himself the healthiest and really abides by that guidelines is going to be the team that exits in the end. It does this. I mean, it's unfortunate, and how many people is it going to take if it does end up being shut down? We don't know the answers to that, and it might be come to the point now where in a few days they do mandate masks, as you said, just to try and keep everyone safe, because it has gone pretty smoothly. The games are feeling like normal baseball, and it's baseball's back, and we're happy about that. But we don't want to keep losing players, because I saw this. How legitimate of a playoffs can you have if a star player goes down with this in the middle of the postseason or right before the postseason? Like, how legitimate can you call all of that? So it's stuff to keep an eye on, but it's unfortunately what we have to deal with. Managers have said it. We gotta treat it like a normal injury. As sad as that sounds, it's true. It's pretty much just another injury teams have to put up with, and hopefully, like you said, speedy recovery. Maybe it's a false positive. Who knows? But we're gonna move away from the COVID injuries, because, of course, there's more injuries to talk about. Corey Kluber made his much-awaited Texas Rangers debut today. Lasted 1 inning and left with tightness in his shoulder. We
Nice.
don't know the extent of that injury, but anytime there's a tightness in the shoulder of a pitcher, it is worrisome.
Oh
Do you
yeah.
have any
Hopefully,
updates on that, or what that might mean for Texas?
I think Texas was a team that we already knew was kind of in the basement as it was. But here's the thing: it's good. The thing is with him as a guy that's coming back, just like what we saw with Shohei Ohtani today, first major league start in what, almost 2 years as a
Yeah,
pitcher.
since 2018.
And it's tough for these guys to come right back And no matter we throwing a BP and whatnot, when you're in a live game, it's just a different feel. And I think that's what's really unfortunate is that it's just coming back the wrong way. And that's what's worrisome for me is a guy that when they get hurt, they get injured. How are these guys going to respond after coming back from injury?
Yeah, it's a good
Look
point.
at
The
Severino.
Rangers.
Look at Severino. It was the same
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, that's a good comparison. He kind of had a similar situation, just one arm injury, and kind of goes to another spot. Hopefully, it's just a precaution. It doesn't seem as precautionary, but hopefully, it's nothing too serious. We're excited about the Rangers' rotation with him, Lance Lynn, Mike Minor, just guys who can do it. Guys who they're not going to be flashy, but they're going to give you 6 innings and not have to use the bullpen. The new stadium, there were some hopes in Texas, although we weren't as excited about them on paper. Texas had some hopes of new stadium, and they could go on a run, especially if an expanded playoffs. But that could be a huge loss for them. Sticking with pitcher arm injuries, Ken Giles, the closer for Toronto Blue
I
Jays.
thought you were going to make my day talking about Stroman.
Oh, we can go to Stroman after this if you want. Actually, you brought it up. Let's stick to Stroman right now. Marcus Stroman, calf tear. He is missing his first turn through rotation, probably a couple turns through the rotation. You love ranting about the Mets.
Yeah.
Let's hear your thoughts.
This was as predictable. If you go back and listen, this is like it's like the expected things in life. It's paying taxes, death, and then the Mets having an injury. It's the exact and Diaz blowing a save. Those are the 4 things that you can expect.
And funny, most of those things happened this weekend.
Exactly. I'm hoping that the first one doesn't happen to me right now after watching.
No, that one we're not going to concern ourselves with.
Hey, watching the Mets too many times, I'll probably be at that point.
Ooh, damn. No, I think that getting back into that, it puts a lot of pressure on someone like Steven Matz, who he looked good in his first start. We'll give him that. He looked good. There's some talks that he made some changes this offseason. He looked good in his first start against Atlanta, but can he keep this up? Rick Porcello, on the other hand, moves up to the 3 spot, and he did not look so good. So,
hey, I got a call. You know what was sad, Kellen? I got a call from my brother who said to me, quote, even though Porcello, this is how sad it is to be a Mets fan, Kellen. He said, at least Porcello got some outs because Ohtani couldn't get any. That's what we're stupid about.
We're proud about getting outs.
Yeah,
and
even though we're down by 8 runs in the second inning.
Yeah. That's really funny, actually. Yeah, you saw that how bad the Mets bullpen is, and they're going to need that rotation to step up. We're going to watch Michael Wacha pitch
can't wait.
On Monday.
Good.
Let's see how that goes. I mean, the good news is your rotation can't be as bad as Boston's. I don't think it's even possible you can be as bad as Boston's right now.
Yep.
And then finally, we'll get back to Ken Giles. He left with elbow soreness. Never a good sign as a pitcher. He just did not look like himself. Left in the middle of the 9th inning trying to lock down a save against Tampa Bay, which ended up being blown by the guys behind him. Impact for Toronto.
Huge impact, even though I don't think he's very good. And he was a guy that he was getting dangled at the deadline last year to a couple of teams. I know for certain, I can say it now, that the Blue Jays were looking to trade both Stroman and Giles in similar packages to teams. They were looking for package deals. They were looking to get a huge return, a huge haul. And that was a guy who, if the Blue Jays were in the basement in a sense, he would have been a guy that they would have been looked to get traded.
Yeah, he's a huge piece. He's going to be in his free agent year after this season. Hopefully it's nothing long-term because we're kind of on the Blue Jays. We like the young offense. We think the pitching has some excitement. We could be seeing Nate Pearson by the next podcast we record. He's going to be...
like 40 pitches we'll see out of him, and it'll be...
Yeah, that could be. We've saw this weekend. A lot of pitchers were being worked their way back slowly,
except the Cubbies who threw.
Except the Cubbies, yeah. Kyle Hendricks, that was fun to watch. That was really fun. But yeah, the next man up for that saves Anthony Bass, maybe. So that's how you know it's not a good situation in Toronto. We were excited about them with the lineup, but losing their closer, that could be a big loss for them.
Depending on what happens, maybe the Orioles get hot. Who knows? They could slip.
Who knows?
We're talking that the so far you've got Tampa lost Meadows, great player. Then we've got the Boston, who's got a terrible rotation because their guy's got a heart condition. Now you've got Toronto losing Giles potentially. this could turn Baltimore into like a playoff team.
Who knows? In this sort of season, they took 2 out of 3 from Boston.
I know, I couldn't believe
They
that.
keep that up. They keep that up. Who
Like I
knows?
said to you, I called you up saying, here's the key to this season so far. I've noticed if you're looking through the lines and the box scores of who's pitching, right? If you have to say who the hell is this guy, bet against. I would bet on against that guy's team, and that it's been really comfortable so far. Every game count, I said this team's gonna win. This team's gonna win. Even the teams that stink have won because of that count.
Yeah, so I think if you're looking for good betting advice, text Josh up, find him, DM him on Twitter, whatever you have to do. Ask him who's a pitcher you're looking at right now, and asking who the heck is he. Then you put the bet on the other team.
Yep. Hey,
So find. Oh, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're absolutely right. I told you at the Tigers game yesterday, I said, who the hell is this guy? And then I said, Alex Cobb's way better than this scrub that they're facing.
Good point. I'm really going to start listening to you more.
Thank you.
And the final injury of something to keep in note: Eloy Jimenez left for the White Sox on Sunday. He crashed into the outfield wall trying to rob a home run earlier in the game. Came up a bit woozy, stayed in the game. Then the next inning, called out trainers, said he felt dizzy, felt blurred vision, whatever it was. They're going to probably test him for concussion. Hopefully he gets back in there because he's an exciting young player.
Yeah, he's great.
The White Sox have a real good young outfield. And losing him, already losing Mazzara because of COVID, 2 of their starting 3 outfielders going to season, that would be a big loss for them.
Oh, absolutely. It's a huge, huge loss for that team. Knowing Mazzara is out for at least a little bit, it's going to be, hopefully he comes back soon because we kind of, I think, started the trend on the White Sox, them and the Reds, and he's a key component to that team.
Yeah, totally agree. And sticking with the White Sox, I'm sure you're happy Luis Robert hit his first career home run. Absolute blast. He's hitting the ball extremely hard. He's hit multiple balls over 100 miles an hour so far.
So good.
He's been so fun to watch. He is going to be a really, really good player in this league.
My question is, how is he not going to be Rookie of the Year? I don't get it. I really don't understand it. For the record count, I woke up on the PST time, Pacific Coast, right? Wake up, and I get first alert was Luis Robert bomb. And it was like the emoji of a bomb.
Yeah, I don't think there's much competition for him for that award for the Rookie of the Year. If he keeps this up, he'll be a runaway, unanimous Rookie of the Year.
He's a guy who I'm so excited to see how he develops. That whole White Sox team is going to be so cool and fun to watch.
Yeah, they made such good moves in getting Yasmani Grandal and getting Dallas Keuchel, getting Gio Gonzalez. They just took that step and was like, okay, we've gone through the rebuild. We've made the trades. We've traded Adam Eaton. We've traded Chris Sale. We don't want to just be rebuilding anymore. We've won some games last year. We looked pretty decent. Let's make that splash and let's take that next step. And with the expanded postseason, I think they're definitely a contender and could get that one of those final wild card spots.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree.
So moving on, we're going to get into some more positive, or at least no longer talking about injuries. Brings you down a little bit to talk about injuries. We're going to go through each series pretty quickly and just give 1 or 2 takeaways, things to keep your eye on, things that opened our eyes from these series, and kind of takeaways of, what was our biggest takeaways from each of these series, and what's something that we expect to keep trending going forward. We're going to start in Washington. The Yankees took 2 out of 3 from the Washington Nationals. Josh, what was one of your biggest takeaways from this series?
First off, the Yankees can hit the long ball very well. That's the first thing I want to point out, which was an obvious statement.
Breaking news.
Giancarlo Stanton and Judge can hit the ball a mile. But at the same time, I'm glad Garrett Cole had a nice start. Even though it was rain shortened, the Yankees look like they're going in the right direction, even though your bullpen's a little left to be desired.
I think what you saw on Sunday's game with the bullpen game is how good the bullpen can be when it's on. You get the 4 innings out of your starter, out of Jonathan Loaizaga and David Hale. Then you go to Adam Ottavino for 2. Then you go to Chad Green for 2. Then you go to Kami Canely, Zach Britton. It was lights out. It was a little shaky at times, but they got the job done. And if they can stick that formula through a playoff series, I think that's something to be excited about for the Yankees.
Already, though, to be fair.
Yeah, I am concerned about James Paxton. I'm not going to go crazy yet, say that we need to make another move or that he's done, but he needs to get that velocity back. He was getting rocked on Saturday night, and it's something to keep your eye on. He even said himself he's still looking for that final tick, and I'm expecting him to find it. He was dominant towards back end of last year. but when will he find it is a question, and it's something that you need to watch going forward for the Yankees, because if he's not right, Masahiro Tanaka can be a good 2, but you need to have James Paxton behind Garrett Cole so that you have that dominant 1, 2, 3 to carry into a postseason.
No, absolutely. And that's going to be the key for the Yankees. Is finding who can be that guy that can step up for them to fill that void from Severino.
Yeah, and then quickly about the Nationals. We said it. They need Juan Soto back. We saw how bad that lineup can be without him, and I think it was demonstrated perfectly this past weekend. Moving over to Philadelphia, I'm sure you have allowed me to give you the first word on this one. The Miami Marlins took 2 out of 3 from the Philadelphia Phillies, even with finding out on Sunday before the game that 3 players have tested positive for COVID. Take it away, Josh.
Phillies look terrible. That bullpen, first off, bullpen stinks. Even though one of the guys I worked with, Ramon Rosso, got his major league debut opening day, got shelled. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers here. I think there are a couple guys. I think Rosso's a great pitcher. I do think there are a couple guys that are on their taxi squad that could be a lot more of a contribution, and they got to figure out what the hell they're going to do with that bullpen, because their bullpen's their biggest liability right now.
Yeah, it's a real
stinks.
No,
the rest of their
go for it.
Stinks for the record. The fact Cole Irvin stinks. Even though he's a bounce back and forth kind of tweener type of guy, the fact that Vince Velasquez, we all know, stinks, and then we're going to see Zach Eflin. Oh, I'm excited to watch Zach Eflin tomorrow or 2 days from now against Garrett Cole.
Yeah. First, congratulations to Zach Wheeler on the birth of his child. He's back. We were concerned about him possibly missing time because of that. Nope, he made his first start Saturday and looked really good. So you have him and Nola. That's a good 1-2 punch. After that, you don't have much. I think that, like you said, that bullpen is brutal. It really showed this past weekend. Joe Girardi's doing his best to manage it. He was always a pretty good bullpen manager with the Yankees, but the difference is he had a good bullpen with the Yankees. And right now, Philadelphia does not have that great of a bullpen, and that's a huge concern. When will Spencer Howard come up? I think that he needs to they need to really look into getting him in this rotation, because Vince Velasquez did not look good in his first start on Sunday. And like you said, Zach Eflin's going to start coming up soon, and that's not going to probably not look so hot either.
Yeah, they're about to get shelled by the Yanks. If you're into daily fantasy sports, everybody on the Yankees against Zach Eflin, against Velasquez, against besides Wheeler,
Arrieta possibly. We don't know what he has left in the tank. I think that's a good call.
And they still got Pivetta in the pen. Stinks.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks in Philadelphia right now.
Bryce Harper looks good, though, to be fair.
Bryce Harper looks good. We'll give you some positive. Bryce Harper looks good. He had an absolute missile today. Didi Gregorius went deep twice. That's looking like it'll be a pretty good signing for Philadelphia. It made me sad to see Didi Gregorius put out an emoji tweet for another team, though. I gotta say, it was a weird sight. I was trying to decode it. I'm like, wait a second, I don't know who any of these guys are if they're emojis. So it made me a little sad.
I got a good question for you. This is a hypothetical. Yeah. What happens if Didi hits a long bomb this week in the next 3 games? Is John Sterling going to do a whole call for Didi?
I feel like he will break it out. He kind of likes to do that. Didi was a beloved Yankee. If it was someone who wasn't as beloved by him, then maybe they won't. But Didi took over for Derek Jeter and did a very good job for it, frankly. And it's sad to see him go. Was it time to see him go? Yeah, Gleyber Torres was ready to take over as the everyday shortstop, and we needed to have LeMahieu play every day. So, unfortunately, it was Didi who had to leave in free agency. But I hope Sterling does break it out for him, as long as it wasn't like a game-leading home run. If it's something early, yeah, if it's one of those, then I hope it doesn't break it out. But if it's a home run in the middle of the game, something, why not break it out for him? And remember why Yankees fans should love Didi Gregorius.
That's a good point.
Moving on, the Tampa Bay Rays took 2 out of 3 from the Toronto Blue Jays. Josh, what's one of your takeaways from this series?
Takeaways so far. Rays, right, so far I'm confident in the Rays and how they're looking. Yeah, they had a bad loss the other day, but they're a team that they got some great depth. I'm excited to see how they progress in these next few weeks, and they're a team to really watch out for. That's what and then with Toronto, Nate Pearson, very excited to watch, even though everyone by now knows what I think of Nate Pearson. You're gonna watch a great 40 pitches out of him, and that'll be that. You're gonna say, "Wow, he's got great stuff for 40," but they're not a great team overall. I think I'm having a little buyer's regret right now on them saying that I thought they were pretty good, but
Yeah, I think the loss of Ken Giles will be huge. Hopefully, it's nothing long term for them. It was nice seeing Vladimir Guerrero play first base. He looked actually pretty good out there. He didn't embarrass himself. He stole a base on
Yeah.
Sunday, which was just a breaking news. And I saw that, I was like, "Wait, was that a typo? Was it?" But we know how good their lineup can be, and like you said, the pitching staff over is going to be an issue. Over in Tampa, they have great depth. You said it yourself. They're going to platoon the heck out of everyone. Bunch of lefties, bunch of righties, swap them in and out. It's going to be nothing flashy, and they're still doing this without Austin Meadows, which I think is impressive. One name to watch out for who had a really good series, Yoshi Susugo.
Yep.
They brought him in over from Japan, and he had a really good series. He's going to hit in the middle of that lineup and play really well for Tampa Bay. So I'm scared of Tampa Bay. I think this series showed how dangerous they can be.
Oh yeah, and their team they got some guys that can throw.
Yeah, definitely. And exactly like you said, their top threes of Glasnow, Snell, and Morton. It's dangerous, and they showed it exactly this past series. Moving over to Cleveland, Cleveland Indians took 2 out of 3 from the Kansas City Royals. Do you have any major takeaways from this series?
The Royals are pretty bad. Both teams, I think, are pretty bad. Even though the Indians were really able to hit the ball real well, I think that was a good part for the game. They were able to really. They won 13-2 today.
Yeah, 9-2.
9-2. I'm sorry, my head. I'm thinking every game's a
It
blowout.
probably felt like 13,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah, but their team though that they really can hit the ball real well. I still don't believe they're the second best team. I'm happy for Carlos Carrasco coming back from leukemia, getting his first start. That was good to see. And yeah, they really got 13 hits, which was great.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, Carlos Carrasco, hats off to him coming back from his first start since battling leukemia. Pitched really well, had double-digit strikeouts, showed how good he can be. That entire pitching staff. Shane Bieber had 14 strikeouts on opening day. Absolutely filthy. Mike Clevenger looked good on Saturday. So they have really good pitching. I think their lineup is really good at the top. We'll see how it does at the bottom. I still really like Cleveland. I do think that they're the second best team in the AL Central, but we'll agree to disagree on that. And then Kansas City. Yeah, there's not too much to be excited about. You saw the debut of one of your higher prospects in Brady Singer on Saturday night, and he showed some promise, so that's something to keep watching for them, but that's really it. Kansas City's for a rough road, and I do think they are, as I mentioned on the betting show, the worst team in that division.
Yeah, they are. They are. It's not even close.
Moving on, we're going to go to another team in that division, the Detroit Tigers, who
My
shockingly took
guy.
2 out of 3 from our Cincinnati Reds. I'm dubbing them our Cincinnati Reds. That's the team we were really adamant on in the betting show, so we're going to stick with them this season. And what are your takeaways from there?
I'm going to pull one of your lines. All right, watch this one. It doesn't matter what happens at first. It matters what happens at the end. Even though the Islanders could beat the Rangers like a gazillion times, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to wait to see what happens where we are at the end of the season. You like that one?
Sure, why not? You know what? I'll give you a takeaway. The Reds' starting rotation is filthy.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, Trevor Bauer, absolutely disgusting. In the first 3 games they played, they were unbelievable.
What did I tell you guys about Castillo, by the way? I said this guy
Yeah,
could Cy Young.
Yeah, you knew he was good, and he showed, like you said, Cy Young stuff. And I don't know if I was ready to take that step to say Cy Young contender. Yeah, after seeing that performance, I'm ready. Sure, it was Detroit, and we know how their offense isn't supposed to be great, but they showed some really good flashes, and showed why I think Cincinnati is the favorite in that division. However, they showed a big weakness this past series of their bullpen. Rizal Iglesias is their closer, and he did not look good. Michael Lorenzen couldn't keep a lead on Sunday. It is troublesome in Cincinnati of that bullpen.
Yeah.
And now possibly, like we mentioned earlier, losing Mike Moustakas with COVID-19 and possibly Nick Senzel. Hopefully they can figure it out. They have the depth to try and work things out in the lineup, but hopefully that bullpen turns around, and otherwise we might not be so high on the Reds anymore.
Yeah, we might be in trouble if Moustakas doesn't come back and start playing as well.
Yeah, I think you're completely right on that. Over to Boston, the Baltimore Orioles took 2 out of 3 from the Red Sox. I know my takeaways from this series, but let's hear yours and see if it's the same thing.
Boston's pitching stinks. That's pretty much the fact that Wade LeBlanc was able to get a win for the Orioles today says something.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Boston's rotation is very worrisome. As we mentioned, You mentioned earlier, pitcher was dealing with heart condition as Eduardo Rodriguez, who was supposed to step in as their ace with Chris Sale out for the season with Tommy John. And now that falls on Nathan Eovaldi's shoulders, who, though Ken shows flashes, you can't be happy if him as your ace. Ryan Weber, Brian Johnson are pitchers who kind of have to step up for them. Josh Osich is starting tomorrow.
Again, Josh,
Dylan Covey.
who the hell is that guy?
Yeah, I'm sure going through their rotation. There's a lot of who the heck are those guys. Matt Hall is starting on Tuesday. That's another who the heck is this guy. You're in trouble, Boston, with your rotation. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, you couldn't have said that better.
And Baltimore, good for you. That's really good for you, Baltimore.
The percentage of how many wins they had last year at this point, probably.
Yeah, you're trending towards that over pick, which we said for you, which isn't really saying much because your over-under is extremely low.
It was, I think, 20.5.
Yeah, I think it was the worst in baseball, but please beat it. I want to be right on that. But moving over to Houston, just lose their ace Justin Verlander. They still won 2 out of 3 from the Seattle Mariners, even though they lost on Sunday. Josh, what are your takeaways from this series?
Astros big void with Verlander gone. It's how are they going to replace him? And you're right with Tucker. Tucker's a guy that is so underutilized. He's in a weird way reminds me of like a Justin Turner with the Mets, where like they didn't know how to use him. He was a guy that they couldn't figure out how to use, and then he turned into having a great career. I think Tucker's got a great skill set. He's the number 1 pick a couple years back.
Yeah, he was a first-round pick, high in prospect.
But yeah, he doesn't have a real good spot on that team.
Yeah, in the 2 games they faced a left-hander with, they didn't even give him a shot. Aledmus Diaz and Taylor Jones started at DH for him. I'm sure one of those 2 guys is another, who the heck is that guy for you?
I was about to say that for both of them, so.
And then even when a left-hander came in to face one of those DHs, they did not pinch hit Kyle Tucker. They pinched Abraham Toro. Wow. So Dusty Baker continues to show his trend of not liking his young guys. For Seattle, I'm going to give you a reason to keep watching Seattle. And Kyle Lewis in the outfield, he has shown absurd power in his time in the major leagues. He had 2 home runs this past weekend, went 2 for 4 again on Sunday without a home run. But he's looking really good. He's going to slot in the middle of that lineup and continue to impress. I think if you're a Mariners fan, which I don't know how many of you are really listening to us for some reason, but if you are, you have some reasons to be excited. And you saw Evan White make his Major League debut, got his first big league hit on opening day. There's some reasons to be excited, and hopefully we get to see those prospects we talked about earlier in our betting show.
Yeah, great point.
Moving on over to Chicago, the Minnesota Twins took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox, including a 14-2 drubbing of the White Sox on Sunday. I know my takeaway from this, but I'm going to give my takeaway first. The Minnesota Twins bats, the Bomba squad, as they like to call them, that set the home run record last season. Yeah, they're still really good. I think it's the bottom line from that. Nelson Cruz, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs on Sunday. It's really impressive what they're able to do. And even if their rotation has question marks, if they're able to hit like they've been hitting, you don't need to have your pitching staff be as dominant. Just keep them in the games and they'll be fine. And we saw the perfect recipe for the Minnesota Twins this past weekend.
Yeah, I think you or I could go right now, throw a glove on and go pitch for them. If we're going to get 14 runs, I could give up about 8 and I'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't know about me. I think my arm's a little.
I think I'll give myself 8. You should have seen me.
I trust you for 8, but me, if my arm, I'm pretty sure it'll be like even easier than taking BP if that's even possible. But
hey, you could just put the Mets pitcher out there to throw BP.
No, if you put the Mets pitcher on, I think it could even be
worse.
Instead of 14-2, it would have been like 20-2 on Sunday. Yeah. It was rough. But yeah, for Chicago, get Eloy Jimenez back. Let's let Luis Robert win it, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, just let our boy just hit like 1,000 bombs. Lead like their team that they got so much upside. It's just I hope that they didn't get good too quick is my only issue with them.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that's a good point. Is did they make these splurges a year too early? I think that's an interesting thought that I hadn't thought of. That it could very well be true. Moving over to St. Louis, the Cardinals took 2 out of 3 from the Pittsburgh Pirates. There's not too much.
Yeah, there's not that much. Pittsburgh, not very good. That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, I think it's kind of good. That's pretty much true. Pittsburgh's not that good. I think you saw some promise with Mitch Keller, who was a former top prospect, who had a nice start on Sunday. Some command issues he needs to work on, but some positive takeaway if you're a Pittsburgh fan. If you're a Cardinals fan, he did what you had to do against a bad team. Jack Flaherty was dominant
Oh
on
yeah.
opening day, and he showed why he can be in that Castillo conversation of Lester talked about pitchers that need to be talked about more, but could contend for a Cy Young award.
Oh, absolutely. And even the thing I like today with the socially distanced ejection, or no,
Oh,
arguing the first socially distanced umpire argument. That was great. They had to wait for each other, put masks on, and it was just pretty funny. I think by the time everyone gets their mask on and they'll forget what they're arguing about.
yeah, it was so amusing. Derek Holland, a pitcher for the Pirates, hadn't even thrown a pitch for the Pirates in his entire career yet. Gets tossed from the bleachers, sitting up in the stands watching the game as socially distanced as players are doing right now. Gets tossed. Manager Derek Shelton comes out, being like, "Wait, who got tossed?" Trying to argue and stick up for his player. And you see them both. Shelton pulls up his mask over his thing. The umpire has to pull out his mask out of his pocket, put it on. Then they start going at it. It was very interesting, very amusing. I hope we see more of those coming up.
Yeah, likewise.
Sticking in the NL Central, the Chicago Cubs took 2 out of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers. Josh, what are your takeaways from this series?
The Cubs are still not so good. I'm curious to see what John Lester can bring to the table tomorrow. But the Cubs, they got off on the right foot with their new David Ross. I'm curious. I think he's more of like a player's guy. He was on the team 2 years ago. I think they're really playing for him well, and they were able to deliver with the bats the other night.
Yeah, I think they've delivered the bats, and you're seeing the effect that Chris Bryant in the leadoff spot has on this team. I think that he's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, but Chris Bryant will get it going. Anthony Rizzo as well, a little bit of a slow start this weekend. They'll get going. Two people to keep your eye on if you're a Cubs fan. Nico Horner started 2 out of 3 games, looked really good. He was a high prospect for the Cubs, and he's starting to get everyday playing time. You thought that maybe Jason Kipnis might get it instead of him. And Ian Happ, he kind of was a post-hype. He was a high-end prospect who wasn't getting the playing time, and finally has started 3 straight games in center field.
Yeah, great point.
And for the Brewers, not too much to say. I mean, your pitching staff, it's showing to be a question mark, as we thought that it might be. And hopefully it will turn it around. Christian Yelich is an absolute bomb, though, on Saturday.
He's a beast. That's the other thing.
Yeah, we learned this weekend that Christian Yelich is still very good at baseball. And now my computer... Oh, no, we're good. Anyway, over to Texas, the opening of Globe Life Field. The Colorado Rockies spoiled that opening by taking 2 out of 3 from the Rangers. What are your takeaways from this?
The Rockies, Trevor Story's really hitting. He homer twice today. He's a guy that he can. I have my guy Bud Black finally managing well. I like him. I'm glad they're playing for him well, and they're a team that they were able to beat up on a bad Rangers team. With a Corey Kluber issue and all of that came along with it. They were able to really show what type of team maybe the Rockies can be, knowing that the D-backs have struggled as much as they have.
Yeah, like you said, D-backs struggled this past weekend. Can the Rockies maybe slide in as that third team in the NL West, get a playoff spot with the expanded playoffs? It's very possible. You saw, like you said, Trevor Story looked really good. Some young guys also, some really impressive catches too. Garrett Hampson robbed the home run. Sam Hilliard robbed the home run. Some young guys to keep your eye on there. And they, of course, have their veterans and Charlie Blackmon healthy and good to go. Nolan Arenado is just Nolan Arenado and just an incredible baseball player. In Texas, yeah, you saw where the concerns can lie, and losing Corey Kluber would be a huge loss for them. Hopefully, they're able to turn things around, and we're rooting for them though. With the new ballpark, it'd be fun to see that for sure.
Yeah, they definitely are a team that are they can turn it around if they have the ability to, and if they can finally get over with the whole issues that they've had with Houston and struggling to beat Houston. Then they, especially with Houston losing Verlander for a little bit, that's a huge loss. I think they have room that they could take the next step up.
Did you see the first home run in Globe Life Field was hit today? Okay, we're gonna play a real quick game. Can you guess what the first home run in Globe Life Field? It should be a pretty obvious name for Texas, but let's see if you can come up with it on the spot.
Oh lordy, I don't know.
Joey Gallo. Joey Gallo.
Oh, I thought you were giving me some sarcasm.
No, it was pretty obvious, and
Oh,
I'm sure I know you knew of him, and I
yeah.
thought I might be able to trick you up by that. But he ended up,
If you didn't tell me, oh, I should know it, I would have been my first guess.
oh, he an absolute moonshot into the upper deck. Insane. He showed some absurd power, and that's just something to keep your eye on as well. It's just his absurd power. Moving to San Diego, the San Diego Padres took 2 out of 3 from the Arizona Diamondbacks. These two teams are going to be battling for the second and third place in the NL West, I truly believe. And we got our first taste of that potential rivalry this season. Any takeaways from this series?
D-backs are struggling a little bit. I'm gonna be honest. The D-backs, their pen struggled. Their the in the lineup was struggling. They're not on the same page right now, and it's really unfortunate. They're a team that they've got a lot of. Kendall Marte is a great player. They've got a couple other guys that can really contribute and hit the ball real. Kelly behind the plate, I like a lot. Um, but yeah, we shall see. And Madison Bumgarner finally got his first start under his belt, which was really good for him.
Yeah, it's nice. It's weird seeing Madison Bumgarner in something other than Giants orange, I gotta say. But yeah, you got him in Arizona, and he should step right in as an ace. Robbie Ray had some command issues in his start on Saturday. Zach Allen, pretty much the same thing, command issues in his start. So you gotta hope those guys turn around if you want to make a run. Like you said, the lineup is good. I like what they're doing. I like Jake Lamb finally getting an opportunity with the addition of DH. Like you said, Ketel Marte, really good baseball player. Starling Marte, a big addition for them. He's looked good so far. But moving over to San Diego, I think that their pitching's shown to be possibly an issue behind Chris Paddock. Maybe Mackenzie Gore gets that call up. We saw the top of the order and how good it can be with Fernando Tatis, Manny
I
Machado,
like
Tommy
that
Pham.
in the number one spot. I really do.
Yeah, I like that too as well. And I'd like Manny Machado at some point sitting right behind him. Dangerous spot of the order right off the bat. But what's your pitching going to look like after Chris Paddock? I think that's the biggest question mark we still have in San Diego.
Yeah, we leave this series with no answers on that note.
But taking 2 out of 3, it's a good start for sure. It's just questions we got to keep. This one I know you have a lot of opinions on, just from our text going on during this game. The Oakland Athletics took 2 out of 3
Oh,
from the Angels. I know you have a huge takeaway, so I'm going to let you have the floor
yeah.
with this one.
So far, right? I went in last night, right? I remember sitting there watching the game, and I said to you, because I've watched, believe it or not, a lot of minor league baseball where they got the guy on second with no outs, start extra innings, right? They had a guy on second who had pretty good speed, I will say. It was pretty quick. Well, I want to say it was what, Simmons on second, and who's fast player. And Joe, I said, Kellen, they should bunt him over, which is what we see a lot. Your winning percentage goes up by 8% when you bunt. You go from 60% of the time scoring the guy to like 70 something more than that, and then your winning percentage goes up by like 14 or 18 points, right? Depending on what numbers you look at. So sure enough, I said, why don't they bunt him over? A lot of the announcers on TV were saying, well, because that means if you're only going for the one run and letting the guy swing away, right? That means you think you're going to need more than one run to win this game. So the Joe Madden, sure enough, doesn't bump the guy over. Guy strikes out. Next guy flies out to third. And the thing is, they would have scored if they did exactly what I said. Didn't work. And basically, because of them screwing around and not doing the right thing, Joe Madden, even though you're my friend from the winter meetings, didn't do the right thing and didn't trust your pen. Sure enough, the bullpen kind of demolishes themselves, and then they give up a grand slam to Matt Olson, which was amazing of a moonshot first pitch.
Oh, that was fun. An opening day walk-off grand slam. You can't ask for much more than that. I think you bring up that good point. We got a good taste of what the extra inning rule looks like, and there's the question mark of do you bunt? And you've mentioned it.
Yes.
We saw the Royals execute it perfectly at scoring a run without even recording official at bat. They bunted the runner over, hit a sac fly, drew a walk, and then got caught stealing. They score a run without recording official at bat, which is just a rare oddity in baseball.
Yeah.
So it's really something to keep an eye on going forward is that rule. But one thought I really thought you were going to go to was Shohei Ohtani made his debut on the mound on Sunday and did not record a single out.
That was, you could tell. Like I know a kid that works for a team doing spin rate, and he texted me. He goes, Otani's numbers are off right now. He said that the spin rate, the RPM was off. His velocity, his velo was down. He should have been hitting at 97, 98, and he was like barely hitting 90. And something just you could tell wasn't right. And he was through like 40 something pitches.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. He had 30 pitches, 15 of them strikes. He walked 3, gave up 3 hits, 5 runs, did not record an out. It's something major. If Shohei Ohtani's not right, he's supposed to step in as that ace of that staff, and if he's not going well, that's a huge issue for the Angels to try and make the postseason. And the Athletics proved how good they can be with that middle of the order. Like I said, Matt Olson did a moonshot walk-off grand slam. Matt Chapman's a very good player, very good defender. He stepped up. Ramon Laureano looks good at the top of that lineup. The A's proved something to me, and they showed that if with the Verlander injury, they could step up and they can move in the first place. I really do think that. And also, real obvious take from to say it, Mike Trout's good at baseball, and we saw that again this weekend.
That's a winning. That's like saying the Beatles would be a successful band one day.
You don't listen to us for the hot takes. You don't listen to us for us making controversial opinions. You listen to us because we tell you that Christian Yelich and Mike Trout are good at baseball.
Very good at baseball. Also, Cody Bellinger, very good player.
Yep, there we go. And you know what? If you don't end on that, if you can just turn off the show right now because we're not going to say anything else more riveting than that.
Yep.
Keeping up with you having hot takes and big opinions, the Atlanta Braves took 2 out of 3 of the New York Mets. I'm giving you the floor. I might not even say anything after you.
Basically,
Go.
Long story short, the Mets stink. Their lineup stinks. They got great players that can't hit a damn ball. They, 6 hits today, 1 run. The other day, had 3 hits. They won a game 1-0 on 3 hits. What are we doing here? Cespedes, my guy, can hit a bomb. I'm glad Cespedes is back because I like him. However, this bullpen is an absolute train wreck. When I texted you, I was hoping SeaWorld was going in. And right, I'm talking about the thing in Florida with the dolphins and the fish and all that junk. Right? I thought that's who was pitching for us because we had some Corey Oswalt. I thought it was Roy Oswalt's kid. I was hoping Roy Oswalt was coming in, even though he's like 50. This team stinks. They got to wake the hell up, Brody. Wake the hell up. Figure out. And also, Jimenez, I've told you, stinks. I watched him go 0 for 13 in AA baseball, and then he was today's starter and stunk.
Yeah, you summed it up. The Mets bullpen was really bad, and you knew that was going to be the big issue. They got it done on opening day, but then Edwin Diaz blew a save. It was a good executed pitch. Just Marcellin was in a really good piece of hitting, but it's a huge bugaboo for the Mets, and we saw it rear its ugly head again on Saturday, and Sunday it reared its ugly head, but also because Rick Porcello could barely record an out.
That guy's the worst.
So
didn't I tell you this morning? I said this guy stinks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did.
I said Newcomb is way better. The game that you throw a ball over a net. I said that Newcomb guy is way better than Rick Porcello.
Yeah, that is that game. But it's good seeing Yoenis Cespedes go yard. He had a really bad opening. At that point, he had 2 bats where he looked overmatched, looked not so good, but was able to drive in the lone run. You kind of couldn't have written it better that he gets the winning run on opening day and shows why he's back and is ready to play, as you say. I'm not going to buy into it yet. I'm still fearing that I still feel like he's going to get hurt. It's not a hot take. It's Yoenis Cespedes. He's going to end up hurt. We all know it, but
hey, and then
hopefully it doesn't.
Today, it's just like I said, it's injuries with the Mets, disappointment, blown saves, death, and taxes. That's all we got.
And you saw again most of them this weekend, besides death.
Yep.
And then finally, unless you might have someone might have gotten their taxes back. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, final series. As of right now, the Dodgers have taken 2 out of 3 from the Giants. They're currently playing. Well, as we're recording this, we did not want to wait until 1 a.m. my time to record this to have a Dodgers series. There's not too much to take away from this series. Dodgers really good at baseball. Giants not so good at baseball.
Yep. That you just said it great. Gabe Kapler's kind of a moron. The Phillies did not want to fire Gabe Kapler, but I think he didn't want to make changes because that's who Gabe Kapler is, and got kind of pushed out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, we saw the Giants and how they're going to manage their bullpen. It's going to be a bunch of openers, bunch of bullpen games, bunch of this guy goes 2 innings, this guy throws 3 innings, and then just a bunch of starters going in and out as a starter in a bullpen.
This reminds me of Mike Ditka's quote. If you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you don't have a starting quarterback.
I think that fits out perfectly. If you have multiple starting pitchers starting, you might not have a starting pitcher. Maybe in baseball. We'll see if the Giants can do something, but I'm not optimistic.
Their system's also not that great either. I'm going to be real with you. Yeah, Joey Bart's pretty good. But after Joey Bart, even though I watched Joey Bart and was underwhelmed by Joey Bart. They don't have that many. Dubon is getting his time now. He's pretty good, but they don't have that many guys that are. They're in trouble for the next little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think their system's that good. A team's not so good when they're three hitters for a series where Pablo Sandoval, who has not looked good
He
in
looks like
multiple years.
360 right now.
Yeah, not Maurice, excuse me. Joe McCarthy was in the middle of that lineup,
Good.
which I thought was someone from the past that wasn't even a baseball player.
Good.
And then Darren Ruff, who spent the past couple of years in not playing Major League Baseball, but playing overseas.
Yeah, I knew that. He was with the Arphils like 3 years ago.
I knew he stood out as a Phillies name.
He led the Arphils in home runs in a career for the Arphils. No big deal. Just knew that off the top of my head.
Yeah, so that's pretty much that's going to do it for these past series. We got our takeaways from all 30 teams and did it in pretty impressive time. This is something to expect going forward, but we're going to go through the news, go through the injuries, and then we're going to give some takeaways from the series, things to keep your eye on going forward. Real quick before we end this show, I'm not going to run through every single series that's coming this weekend. You can look it up on your own. But Josh, do you have a series that you're keeping a closer eye, or a pitching matchup that you're going to keep a closer eye than others?
Watching the Phillies. When the hell are they going to wake up? Call some of the boys that we know and like. We're waiting on them. Are they going to figure it the hell out? The Mets, can they beat up on a bad Boston Red Sox team? Or if we get swept, we're in deep trouble. They're in deep trouble. And I'm curious to see how much the Yankees can hit the over on every one of those games against crappy Philadelphia pitching.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect way to say it. I think that the Braves-Rays series is going to be really exciting. Two real good teams facing off. We're going to see Tyler Glass now for the first time. What does he look like? And we're going to see how the Braves manage their rotation. I'm excited to see the next step for the Cubs and Reds. Yeah. Are the Cubs really legit like we thought, or can we get our Reds to bounce back?
Can our White Sox figure what the hell's going on out?
Yeah, I think that's another real good series, White Sox and Indians.
One last thing before we end this is there are a lot of new adjustments, right? We're talking about guys on second to start at extra innings. We're talking about the new rules. What are your thoughts on now that the 3-batter minimum? We're kind of seeing it play itself out now. What are your thoughts on it?
I think that I'm not a huge fan. I've always was a fan of the Yankees having that lefty to come in and face David Ortiz and get him out in a huge moment in the postseason. So far, you haven't really seen it play too much in effect. You've seen some lefties come in and hats face that big righty, and they do get a hit, but so far it hasn't really reared its head, in my opinion. Maybe I'm missing it off the top of my head of a moment where it really stood out as being an issue, but I think managers, they knew it was coming, and they've adapted their rosters to be able to handle that. I don't love the rule. Like I said, I love the matchup game. I love having that lefty matchup late in the game and having that guy to really. It was 2009 World Series. The Yankees had Damaso Marte to come in just to get out Ryan Howard and Chase Utley. So I do like that in baseball, but I can understand the change, and I don't think it's really made a huge difference in the product on the field so far.
Yeah, I don't know. With the Oakland A's game the other night, I think that it played into it a little bit.
Yeah, I think that was a good one. That was one I didn't think of, but that's a good point.
Yeah, that's all I got here. But yeah, so we're gonna announce that we got now we're gonna start doing this twice a week. I cued the wall and the music from last week. We're gonna be doing this twice a week. Callan, we're gonna do this. Release it on Monday.
The show. By the time you're listening to this, we're gonna keep up the schedule. Monday mornings, you're gonna get or Monday afternoon, whenever you're gonna get your recaps of the weekend series and preview for the week series coming up, and then we're gonna have another show that comes out more often, most likely on Fridays, to recap the games from Monday to Thursday and preview the series for the weekends. I think this would be a good way to split. Yeah,
4 and 3.
I think I can do a thing or two about math. I went to law school, so I didn't have to worry about math anymore, but I can still do it when I need to. But I think this is a good way to split up the week of baseball, so we're overloaded. Because look, we're definitely over an hour in, and that was just one weekend of baseball.
Exactly, one weekend. So, yep, that's all I got. Yeah. You got anything else?
No, I think it's a good way to end it. Thank you for tuning into the 7th inning stretch. I am Callan. That is Josh. Enjoy the next week of baseball.